They sit on the side. Ooh, that's funny. Next thing you know, you see it on HBO or something. You be sitting at home. That shit's mine, you know? But ain't nobody gonna believe you. First come, first serve. I got too much pride.
They stole that from me. They just took it. Deal, because this industry is a monster.
Kevin and I had beef. And I'll tell you why. Because privately, this motherfucker stole everything from...
People just won't let this one go. Kevin Hart's Netflix roast is still making waves, and now he's catching serious heat for daring to put himself in the same conversation as the legendary Bernie Mac. Right before the roast dropped, Kevin went on a full-blown rant, chest out, declaring himself the greatest to ever do it, and demanding the world finally give him his flowers. And then he sealed it with this: "I'm not afraid of any of you. Come at me."
Woke up a dog. Let me tell you something about a dog. When a dog get angry, or a dog gonna bite. And this little dog about to bite hard. Tune in, and I'm gonna say it because I've been saying it the whole time. Remember, I get the mic last. I get the mic last. Don't you ever forget that I...
And look, Kevin was just hyping himself up, doing what entertainers do before a massive moment. We've all seen the pre-show bravado before, but this time, he didn't just talk his talk. He reached into comedy's sacred vault and borrowed something that was never his to take. Because that line, "I ain't scared of you," that wasn't just words. That was Bernie Mac's war cry. Back in the 90s, he'd step onto that stage, face a crowd that ate comedians alive, and unleash those words like a man who had absolutely nothing to lose. It was raw, it was real, it was him. So much so that when the world wanted to honor his legacy, they named his entire documentary after it. "I ain't scared of you," that line belongs to Bernie Mac, the way a fingerprint belongs to a man.
I ain't scared of you. I'm gonna tell you something, the press. I ain't coming.
So why does any of this even matter? Well, when Kevin reached for that line, a lot of people felt a certain kind of way, like he was planting his flag on a mountain he hadn't climbed. And reportedly, Dave Chappelle was among those who weren't buying it, not even a little. But here's where it gets deeper, because this moment connects to something both Dave and Bernie himself spent years warning the comedy world about. Bernie Mac had a code, an unspoken law he preached to younger comedians like gospel. He'd tell them straight up, you cannot perform your material in front of other comedians, because this industry is full of people who will smile in your face and steal your soul in the same breath. No integrity, no loyalty, just opportunity. Bernie had seen it happen too many times. A comedian pours everything into a bit, turns around, and watches someone else deliver it on a bigger stage to a bigger crowd. He knew exactly how that game was played, because he'd watched it destroy people who weren't paying attention.
I've been with me all the time. You know, she's seen my stuff, my new stuff, and all that kind of stuff. Especially when I do my single dates, and I'm trying to school her. You don't do your material around a lot of comedians. That's like stealing in front of the police. You don't do it. They mean well, but they sit on the side. Ooh, that's funny. Next thing you know, you see it on HBO or something. You be sitting at home. That shit's mine, you know?
And Bernie wasn't speaking in hypotheticals, he was speaking from open wounds. Because if you know your history, Bernie Mac went head-to-head with Steve Harvey over stolen material during the original Kings of Comedy tour. That wasn't a rumor, that was a real documented falling out between two giants. And it didn't stop there. Bernie also claimed Steve made a move to take his spot in Ocean's 11, an opportunity that could have changed the entire trajectory of his career. The bad blood ran so deep that Cedric the Entertainer later revealed that's the exact reason a sequel tour never happened. That tension killed it before it could breathe. So when Bernie Mac warned comedians about theft, understand that he wasn't preaching from a book, he was preaching from his life. And Dave Chappelle, he carries his own battle scars from a completely different kind of theft. We all know the story. Dave signed with Comedy Central young, hungry, and desperate, not fully understanding what he was giving away. And when Chappelle's show became a cultural phenomenon, he saw almost none of it. Comedy Central kept streaming it, kept profiting from it, kept building off his genius. And Dave didn't see a fair return. He didn't mince words about it either. He looked the industry dead in the eye and called them exactly what they were: people fencing stolen goods.
The day I committed to it, it gets announced that Netflix is streaming Chappelle's show. Not just Netflix, HBO Max is streaming it too. You know, before Chappelle's show was at Comedy Central, I pitched that show to HBO. I told them what I wanted to do. Now, these are executives.
So let that sink in for a second. Two of comedy's most respected voices, Bernie Mac and Dave Chappelle, both had their work taken, their legacy exploited, their genius profited from without permission. They lived that pain firsthand. And now, standing in the middle of all that history is Kevin Hart, a man who himself has faced repeated accusations of lifting jokes and snatching roles, now wrapping himself in Bernie Mac's legacy like it was made for him. So let's pull back the curtain on the actual accusations, because this is where the story gets uncomfortably real. Over the years, Kevin Hart hasn't just faced one whisper of joke theft, he's faced a pattern. A comedian named Reggie Cush stepped forward with a serious claim that Kevin's team, specifically his producers, were systematically lifting his material and feeding it into the machine. Reggie didn't mince words. He called it exactly what it was: intellectual property theft, his creativity, his voice, his work, repackaged and delivered to millions without a single credit or conversation. And here's what makes that accusation land even harder. Dave Chappelle reportedly saw what was happening and called it out directly. The same man who had his own genius stolen and monetized without fairness stepped up and pointed at the pattern unfolding in front of him. When Dave Chappelle notices something is wrong in comedy, you pay attention.
Comedian you saw stealing jokes on Kevin Hart's funniest.
Well, use my material.
Wow. You
And-
on Netflix.
On Netflix in front of millions
That's crazy.
of
Millions.
people. I get a text message, and the text message is saying, yo, use your joke.
Now Kevin did eventually address the noise. He came out and acknowledged that he works alongside a team of writers, two guys named Harry Ratchford and Joey Wells, who help him shape and develop his material. And honestly, on the surface, that's not a scandal. Plenty of the biggest names in comedy have writing rooms behind them. That's just the business. But critics say that's precisely where the problem lives. When there's a team filtering jokes through a pipeline before they reach you, a layer of separation forms between the comedian and the material. And that distance, intentional or not, creates the perfect conditions for someone else's voice to slip through undetected. Whether it happens by accident or by design, the result looks the same from the outside. But here's the thing, the joke theft accusations, according to some, that's actually the smaller fire. The bigger explosion came from Katt Williams. And when Katt Williams decides to speak, he doesn't whisper. He went on record and called Kevin Hart a textbook industry plant. Not a slip of the tongue, not a vague implication, but a direct, deliberate label. Someone, Katt suggested, who didn't purely rise through the grind, but was positioned, propped up, and guided to the top by forces working behind the curtain. And if that wasn't enough, Katt also claimed that Kevin has been systematically taking his movie roles, opportunities that were meant for him, rerouted to someone the industry found easier to control.
For a 5-year period, every single movie that Kevin Hart did was a movie that had been on my desk, that all I had said was, just, can we take some of this step and fetch it shit out?
And Kevin's response to all of it? Largely dismissive. He told the Wall Street Journal that he has fundamentally changed the business of stand-up comedy and that nobody stays at the top by accident. He told HuffPost that it's just entertainment, and if Katt wants to fuel himself off that energy, then God bless him. And maybe that's fair. Maybe that's just two different men with two different styles operating in two different lanes. But the moment you borrow Bernie Mac's signature line to announce yourself to the world, you open the door, you invite the comparison, and if that comparison reveals that you stand for something fundamentally different than what Bernie represented, people aren't going to look away, they're going to lean in. So let's actually do that comparison, because understanding who Bernie Mac was when the cameras were off is the entire key to understanding why this moment matters so much. Bernie Mac was married to his high school sweetheart, Rhonda McCullough. They found each other as teenagers at Chicago Vocational Career Academy, dated for 2 years, and in 1977, both just 19 years old, they made it official. What followed was 31 years of marriage that lasted right up until Bernie took his final breath in 2008. And there was something Bernie used to say with genuine pride that spoke volumes about the man he was. He would tell people he had no outside children. In an industry overflowing with complicated, messy family situations, Bernie wore that fact like a badge of honor. Every child he claimed was with his wife. He and Rhonda had a daughter named Janice, and when his teenage niece needed a home, along with her 2-year-old daughter, Bernie didn't hesitate. He opened his door and raised them as his own. That family dynamic, that instinct to step up when blood needs you, became the heartbeat of his television show. But unlike most Hollywood adaptations where the fiction barely resembles the reality, Bernie's widow Rhonda confirmed it plainly. What you saw on screen was essentially the man she lived with every single day. And what makes Bernie even more remarkable is how clearly he understood the line between performance and identity. In a 1999 Washington Post interview, he broke it down with surgical precision. He acknowledged that audiences loved the raw, unfiltered version of him on stage, the cursing, the boldness, the fire. But he was crystal clear that it was a character, a conscious creation. He said when he stepped off that stage, that man was dead, gone. What went home was someone else entirely. A church-going Christian, a devoted husband, a father who kept finding his way back to Chicago because that's where his real life lived. That level of self-awareness is rare, almost extinct in this industry. Now place Kevin Hart next to that portrait. In 2017, while his wife Eniku was pregnant with their son, Kevin was caught in the middle of a full-blown cheating scandal. And this wasn't a rumor or a tabloid whisper. There were photographs, there was video footage, and there was an alleged extortion attempt with an 8-figure price tag attached to keeping it all buried. Kevin eventually stepped forward and admitted the truth. He had cheated on his wife.
15 years in Hollywood, no one in Hollywood has a memory of going to a sold-out Kevin Hart show, there being a line for him ever getting a standing ovation at any comedy club. He already had.
So is that savvy business, or is that selling out everything that makes you real? Honestly, that answer is going to change depending on who you put the question to. But here's what no amount of money, Netflix deals, or sold-out arenas can rewrite. Bernie Mac and Kevin Hart are not cut from the same cloth. Not comedically, not professionally, and certainly not as men. And that's the wound that opened up the moment Kevin reached for that line ahead of his roast. Because the people who knew Bernie, who watched him build something honest from nothing, they felt it immediately. Men like Dave Chappelle and Katt Williams have spent their entire careers understanding the difference between someone who earned their place and someone who was handed one. They know what authenticity looks like up close, and they know what it doesn't look like too. Kevin Hart has built an empire. That part is undeniable, but an empire built on borrowed lines, questionable comparisons, and a legacy that isn't yours to claim. That's a foundation people will always find a reason to question. But this is where I want to hear from you. Are people reaching, piling on Kevin simply because he's at the top and success makes you a target? Or do you genuinely believe there's truth to the idea that Kevin Hart is an industry plant who built his career on other people's material and other people's opportunities? The floor is yours. Drop your take in the comments, and make sure you stay locked in for the next one, because we're just getting started.